I think trust starts with yourself. I've seen people let themselves down first. So they're pretty good at letting people down. And when I say that, I'll use an example in terms of discipline. Just say, for instance, if you decided that you're going to exercise every day and you do, and you see yourself get better, you have a level of confidence in what you say and what you can do.
Trust. It's what makes or breaks every business relationship.
This is the Building Trust podcast, where we are turning trust into triumphs. We talk with entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers about how they earn it, keep it, and sometimes rebuild it. Let's explore what it really means to build trust in today's world. Welcome to the Building Trust podcast, where we're turning trust into triumph. Today's guest is Wayne McMillan, a Nashville area contractor, a mentor, a coach, and the founder of Men of Promises. Men of Promises is a faith-based men's development and mentoring organization that helps men discover their purpose, develop personal discipline, build genuine brotherhood, and become stronger contributors within their homes and communities. The organization works through fellowship, gatherings, structured cohorts, mentoring, biblical formation, and community service. Its central belief is straightforward. When men become healthier, stronger, and more dependable, the impact spreads into their families and their communities. My name's Aaron Schroer. I'm the owner of Tennessee Home Inspectors, and I'll be your host today. Welcome to the Building Trust podcast. Wayne also describes himself publicly as a founder of Achieve More Academy, where his work focuses on identity, daily disciplines, personal growth, and helping people recognize the value within themselves. Welcome to the Building Trust podcast, Wayne.
Thank you, Aaron. I am excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here, man. I enjoy the relationship we have, and I think people are going to get a whole lot out of this conversation. So before we talk about Men of Promises, I want you to take us back to the beginning.
If I may, I started out, I was studying architecture. My desire was to be an architect. And like most students, back in that day, there was not any CAD or anything like that. So I was drawing. I had the pencil and I was drawing it. And so I would constantly ask my instructor, what is this? What is that? So he told me, Wayne, you need to get out and work in the field for a while, get a feel of what's going on. So I remember this day, the first opportunity I had, they had me in, I was working in one of the old burnout houses in East Nashville. I think it was over on Settler. So the guys had me, we were doing electrical work, and the guys had me up in the attic, and I was in the attic all day in a burnout. So when I came out at the end of the day, the older guys, they could see me when I came out. I was just soot from head to toe, and they looked at me like, I hope this guy come back. And they were like, Wayne, you gonna come back tomorrow? I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'm coming back. This is me right here, man. This is me. And I like that story because a lot of times we think that if something is easy or graceful or neatly packaged, yes, I'll accept it. But when sometimes that stuff is packaged in soot and mud and dust, it's kind of harder to believe that somebody's going to accept that package. But man, that was my segue. I have been doing it ever since. I like that because I believe it was something that was in me already that connected with it. And it made it easy to do. And I say this often, and a lot of people are kind of like, is that true? But I rarely wake up and say, hey, man, I don't want to go to work today. I enjoy what I do, and I always have for the last 40 plus years. Enjoyed every day at work. You know, it's just what I do. It's more like my exercise. It's my social network. It just challenges me in every way. So I love it. It's the best thing that I've ever done.
And Wayne, if I was going to date that, we're talking about late 70s, early 80s. Is that about right?
I was hoping that you wouldn't ask that question, but yes, sir. It was late 70s. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was fresh out of high school and in college at the time.
Man, the late 70s, I was thinking about just getting born, really. So You're a whole generation above me, and that's awesome. But that experience is so meaningful. And you've seen the trades go through in the housing market, especially go through all of its ups and downs and transformations. So people need some of the wisdom that you're prepared to share with them today, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll be glad to. That's anybody knows me know that that's one thing I enjoy doing is sharing wisdom.
Absolutely. As far as learning how to do stuff and work with your hands, did you have some mentors along the way that showed you what to do and how to do it? Did you diverge from the drafting programs you were in?
No, I think it was more so the same job opportunity that I was on. I had the same vigor, and then I was involved with the guy I worked for. That's all he did. He did residential repair. It was called a residential repair service. And we did all types of things. So I never had a chance to really just get focused. I was able to hone all of my skills. We did electrical work, we did plumbing work, we did carpentry, we did roofing, and all of it. Each time I did it, it was just more of a building thing for me internally and externally. It's interesting. I can remember the day that I kind of woke up to the whole idea about it, maybe about a year or two into it. And I could see the continuity from all of the trades, how there's a constant thread running through plumbing and electrical. There's a constant thread that runs through most trades. You got to do this, you got to do this. This prevents that, that prevents that. And I think that opened up a whole nother door for me in terms of learning and being able to make a living for my family. Honestly, I've been self-employed for over 40 years.
It's a great way to make a living. I find it is gratifying. At the end of the day, you could step back and you could tell you did something. In my current world, I spend a lot of time in front of the computer and the physical piece is not there. But when you're working with your hands and real products and real things, there's a lot of self-fulfillment that goes into that. And if we can find fulfillment and support our family, man, we're just winning.
Yes, yes. And you know, it's interesting because my lesson for this Thursday night is centered around that same concept: seed, soil, growing, and we finally landed on tending your crop. So I'm leading into another lesson that's helping us understand the value of tending your land or your crop, how it does more than yield food or whatever the immediate need. It has so much legacy behind it. Just like what you said, like all of the things you said about me, all the accolades that you gave me credit for, they all stem from that same decision when I was like, hey man, this is me. I'm gonna deal with this. And I stuck with it, good, bad, indifferent. And it just built something in me that made me able to build other things and other systems since then. Again, like I was saying, there's so much continuity in these things. And I always said that I think farmers and people that were mechanical had a better grasp on how life works because you can see the causal effects of almost everything. More things have a cause and effect principle associated with it. So when you learn how to be causal thinking, it helps you in a lot of ways. What it did for me, it helps me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I can get that, man. And you're speaking metaphorically right now. I
Yes.
think a lot of people can relate to it. That, hey, we got our field, we got our soil, we got our fertilizer, our water, and what we get out of our life's efforts, the fruits of that work is you're gonna get the good stuff or you're gonna get the bad stuff, depending where you put your energy. And
But you're gonna get some stuff.
you won't get stuff, yes, sir.
You're gonna
Now,
get
I'm gonna circle back to what you said about being okay with the tough day's work. I've heard stories from multiple people who have tried different fields in the trades, especially roofing. You mentioned roofing, and I've had multiple people I've talked to that did one roofing job, and that was it. That was enough for them. And some of them, they didn't even finish that job. They went and got a pack of cigarettes and never came back. And I know, man, roofers got a high turnover. That's a hard thing to do. And I was put on a roof when I was probably 12, 13, 14 years old. And I got heat stroke. I remember painting this metal roof in the dead of summer. And I was sick for 2 days, honestly. And that didn't stop me from getting on another roof later on. And I think some people are built or wired weird to be okay with discomfort and pain and go back to that source and do it again. I don't know what it is, but Some people are okay with it and some people are not.
I agree, and I understand exactly everything that you said. And I don't think I'm any different from the guy with the cigarettes or yourself. I've had those things, but I think when I learned about this business, I learned more so the commitment piece, do what you say what you do, So I was a little bit more in tune with being able to do what I said I was going to do. Even there were times I imagine I've had to pay people to finish it rather than to disappear. But my credibility in Nashville and the surrounding city is impeccable, both through other tradesmen and my client base.
I don't think I went into this, but what's the name of your contracting company, Wayne?
It finished up being A+ handyman. I did two when I started. It was a simple thing called Perfect Place Home Improvement, but I finished up as A+ handyman.
Okay. And you carried a remodeler's license?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But
cool.
at this point, I only do, and I don't do much of it now anyway, because my men of promises and the other things take up a lot of my time. But we do handyman work. We pride ourselves in being able to, we've got a special way we do things. We don't take jobs that take multiple days. If you need somebody today, we can come today or tomorrow, and we're going to finish it. If it's a 3 or 4 day job, we typically won't take it because we want to always be available for the people that need somebody to do the small work. I realized years ago when I was doing those jobs, it took like 2 weeks or better. I'd be getting calls every day. Hey, can you come do this? Hey, can you come get this $300? Can you come get this $400? Can you do this $1,500 turnaround? And I was turning it down. And by the time I finished up with the job that kept me weeks, I actually would have made more money with the hundreds, the 1,500 and things like that. So that's when I scaled my business to a point where I don't want to do nothing but a day's work. If it's more than a day's work, you need to find somebody else. And we're always available within 24 hours for whoever needs us. There are plenty of people that do it different, but that's just our niche. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
especially now that I'm retired, I don't want to be tied up for multiple days. It
Because
prohibits me from doing the other things that I want to do.
right, and that's an interesting niche to land in and to find a home in. Let's get back to the namesake of the podcast, building trust. So, where would you say you got the most traction in your business developing the relationship where when you walk in, people already have trust?
I think where it comes from, I've actually been pondering that question myself. But one of the things that I learned in actually what I'm teaching, I learn just as much when I teach as I do. But I think trust starts with yourself. I've seen people let themselves down first. So they're pretty good at letting people down. And when I say that, I'll use an example in terms of discipline. Just say, for instance, if you decided that you're going to exercise every day and you do, and you see yourself get better, you have a level of confidence in what you say and what you can do. Whereas if we take that on the backside, you say, well, I'm going to start working out every day. And you don't, and you let yourself off the hook. Then you don't have enough confidence in yourself, and it's projected. It becomes projected because you know yourself that you might let somebody down. So what I do first is I trust myself. I build trust within myself. And building trust within myself means that I build trust well with others too. That's what I seek to do. And, just like most of us, we're in a word of mouth type of business too. And then you multiply that with people that believe in you. You talk to the people that they believe in and other people that they're comfortable with. It just grows.
I'm hearing that it's a inside job.
I
And
believe everything starts from the inside. Everything that you see on the outside is a result of what's going on the inside.
there's a couple things there. I'm thinking two expressions. One, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so, like you said, man, if you're okay with letting yourself down, you're probably gonna let other people down too. That goes a long way. So if we start there with simple commitments we make to ourselves, we're going to be able to make those with other people, and we're going to walk in confidence too.
I see it all the time. When I come in contact with you, I can see that you're comfortable with what you project. And I like that. That's one of the reasons why we have the report that we have now, because I've seen it in you, and we continue to expect that from each other, I think. And that kind of helps us hold it together for ourselves and for our families.
I think so too, man. What about communication styles? When you're working with people and they come in to have you do a job, they're going to have a little bit of a preconceived notion of what's going on, maybe what it might cost. Maybe they talk on the phone, they get an idea from somebody else what it might cost. Maybe you kind of put your foot in your mouth on the phone, but you get out there and what you're looking at and what you came to fix might turn out to be a symptom of the actual problem, not the problem itself. So you're about to have to deliver some really bad news. And sometimes people are afraid they're going to be taken advantage of. What advice do you have for people working in this situation?
I think what I do with that situation is, rather than come in like, oh, you're going to need a new roof. We'll just use a roof for an example. Oh, you're going to need a new roof. They may already know that, but there's a way to convey that to them. And I think it comes back to like our last question. Do they trust me enough to say that they need a roof? A lot of times they know they need a roof, but they don't trust you to tell them that they need a roof. One of the things that I found been the most promising approaches is listen. I think what happens, us as tradesmen, a lot of time us as tradesmen, less businessmen or less salespeople, we just think just because we know the ABCs of how it's to be done, that's all it takes. But there's so many people don't care anything about the ABCs of how it's done. They don't care about that. They just want to know that they have somebody that they can depend on. Trust, as you're saying, is the most valuable asset that you can gain in any situation. So what I do is I listen. A lot of times the people will tell you everything you need. You listen. I don't start off telling people what they need or what they don't need. I listen and I follow along with what they're telling me to what they tell me kind of run out. And then by that time, most of the time, they trust me. So then at that point, if I say you need a roof, they pretty much are more willing to go with it, and especially if my numbers are in the same parameter as the other people. Typically, like on a roof or something like that, they've already talked to 2 or 3 other people. So you're not going to do yourself a favor coming in there just rambling. You need to do more listening than talking at that point.
And what advice would you have? Like, what promises should everybody be willing to make to a customer and be willing to keep, regardless if it's convenient or not?
Like any promise that you initiate, it needs to be fulfilled. When you hear that all the time, things like deliver more than you promised, it's about building a relationship and about building rapport. I never felt like this job was the job. I always felt like this job was the lead to another job. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time. I've never spent a lot of time advertising. I do this, I do that. My work is pretty much spoken for itself. So I deliver on my promises. Whatever promise I've made, I do it. I think in contracting, trust, promises, keeping your word, I mean, they all say the same thing. You can't have one without the other.
I like to say that every job we do is an interview for our next one.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You said it better than I did. So when you operate from that mantra, you'll do what you need to do. And all jobs, you're not going to win. I've had just as many jobs where I paid to get off of it as I have to be in it. And then I've had plenty of jobs where I was paid to be there. You have to look at it. Well, I always look at it like my tally at the end of the year was more important to me than what it is per job, you know, because you're dealing in a world of where tangibles that may be different at different times. The neighbor's house, same job, you may have very different things to contend with. You just have to position yourself well. And that's some of the stuff you do That's business. And again, like I said earlier, I think a lot of times tradesmen forget that it's more than just trades. It's more than the trades. You have to be a businessman, you have to be a salesman. You can't just be a technician all the time. More technicians lose jobs because they're technicians. More salesmen get jobs because they salesmen. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that there's a difference. There's a difference. And if you're going to do it all, then you have to put on the right hat for the right job. If you have salespeople or technical people, then you should use that to your advantage.
I think that's important. For me, it's always been important to be a student of all these different things that, okay, maybe I'm not a salesman by nature, but I should probably pick up a book and learn a little bit. Maybe I don't know how to relate to everybody, but maybe I should work on those skills so that I can match somebody's energy in a way that makes them feel comfortable.
I appreciate you helping me say what I'm trying to say, man.
It's relatable because it's a relationship business. It is that relationship that's going to carry us on. And like you said, at the end of the year, we're going to average all these jobs together. And so long as the average is good, then we're doing all right. Hey, if our average rate is not really competing with minimum wage, we got to rethink what we're doing. But for one job, it's going to suck. I remember my first paid job as a furniture maker. I don't know that I quite made minimum wage. I loved doing it. I had a great time. And the product I gave out was a big mahogany high chair for twins. It was a trestle table that you could pop two twin babies in it and they could hold hands and eat food together. And it was amazing. But I didn't make $7 an hour building it. But I loved what I was doing. I had a great time. And, so I looked at that and I had to get better. But nowadays, yeah, we do a home inspection. We might do a partial inspection. Maybe we just look at somebody's roof. Maybe we just look at somebody's crawl space. And it might not be the best paying job, but they might refer me to some friends that are buying a couple houses. And that is all worth it. For me, it's a victory. It's the opportunity to help somebody with a problem and potentially earn more jobs. So that's great. And like you said, sometimes you pay to get out of a job. So that's a loss. And I understand having to take a loss, maybe having to go back and make something right. Do you have to go back and fix things or refund somebody's money to maintain a relationship before?
Not a lot, but my reputation and customer satisfaction were the top two areas. It's my job to be sure that I'm profitable. I have to design systems and processes where I'm profitable. But if and when they fail, that's not my client's problem. That's my problem.
Every now and then I got to write somebody a check. Something we inspected didn't quite go right. And if people are reasonable with me, I'm reasonable with them. And they'll come back and leave a positive review. They'll tell somebody about it. They'll refer us to. Even though things went south, we could still make it right. And in the end, everybody wins. They're happy and we get more business. So I'm happy.
Anybody can do good when good is available, but doing good when bad is the only thing available, that's where the trust comes in. Because the clients a lot of times know that you got your back against the wall. And then if you still man enough to support them with your back against the wall, they know they have somebody they can trust. Anybody can do good when that's all that's on the table. But can you do good when bad is facing you? That's what makes the man. You're not going to do that often. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to become better by the situation. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying be stupid or operate at a loss. That's information to help you be a better tradesman, business person, or whatever. It's funny. I think about it a lot. When you open your doors to all whoever needs, we'll stay with the roof thing. But when you open your door, like, hey, we do all types of shingle roofs, you're talking about a lot of different people. So you opening your door to a lot of different people. Some you're going to be able to get along with, some you're going to be able to communicate with. It's just the process. It's not easy when you got your name on the billboard, the internet and everything, and anybody can call. Some of the craziest people call. Sometimes you work out with them, sometimes you don't, but that's all a part of this whole thing too.
Absolutely. Have you ever had to give somebody some really bad news that like, okay, well, I advised you not to do it this way and you insisted. So these are the results and I'm sorry, but this is what I told you and you didn't listen.
I think I've been fortunate enough that I didn't have to get in that, because that can be really messy. Because I imagine at that point, they're looking for you to kind of do something that you wouldn't typically do. So I can't say that I've got a lot of experience in that area.
I only had to deal with it once or twice, but I was a very young man in the trades then, and I don't think I had the confidence to turn the work away, or fear of losing the job and compromising what I knew was right. And I had to learn to stand on my principles when it matters, right? Some people stand on principles all day, and I'm like, man, why are we arguing about this? You're just arguing to be right. But the
Yes.
difference there is that, okay, well, to advocate for my clients, sometimes I got to educate them and make sure they're making the right decision. Man, let's talk about Men of Promises a bit. Why'd you choose that name?
Nobody has really asked me that. And the reason I chose it has a myriad of reasons why I chose it. But it kind of comes down to just being a man that God can trust, a man that you can trust, a man that your community can trust. And the Bible is full of promises for a man that wants to do that. So it's kind of centered around that.
I've got something I wrote on the back of my door, and I picked this up from a house I was inspecting, and it's like door of core values. And so I wrote some notes to myself with the Sharpie on the back of my door, and one of them is I'm a man of my word. I keep the promises I make to myself and others. And I wrote that 10 years ago, brother. It was a long time ago. It's starting to fade. What does this mean to you? Are we talking about promises? And I think people don't ask you because it seems pretty self-evident. Men of promises, that's a strong phase. But is this promises men make to God, themselves, their families, their communities, all the above? Where's your primary focus on that term?
Primary focus is God has made promises to man. You find a man and he's dejected, don't feel like nothing's working for him. He just can't seem to find his way. He's not following the promises that God has laid out for him in the Bible. There, I don't know how many promises it is, but there are millions of promises that God made to man. So if you're not seeing it, you're not looking in the right place.
What if he's not seeing it? Where's that salvation coming from?
That is an excellent question. I think that is why I started Men of Promises. And I wanted it to be something where men felt comfortable finding themselves and finding a way to discover what promises are in the Bible. So we do weekly Bible studies for the men who are interested. We do a weekly Bible study, and it's more of a Bible study to help men be introduced to the principles and precepts in the Bible. We don't do a lot of, I like to say it this way, and some of the guys don't like it when I say it. Our Bible study won't get you into heaven, but it'll help you with all of the hell that you're dealing with down here on earth. There are plenty of churches and there are plenty other places where you can get it. We can't do everything, but what we do is we try to help men find solitude in being with other men and accountability, opening the Bible, being comfortable with changing themselves, being comfortable with loving themselves and other brothers, and being held accountable with other brothers. So, and a lot of times that makes a huge difference. I've seen guys come here and their lives are changed in a short time. It works.
How can a man rebuild trust in himself if it's going to start there?
I like that question, Aaron, and I'm going to do the best I can to answer that because I was that man 2 or 3 times in my life. I've been married for the second time now. Needless to say, I lost my first marriage and family, and that was due to my negligence. And that's another reason why I do Men of Promises, because what happens a lot of times when a guy is 25 and he wakes up and he has a wife, a home, job, responsibility, and he doesn't really realize that he's not equipped to handle that, he tends to self-destruct. And that's what happened to me. And that's why I understand the value of what I do here, is because it's so easy for a man 25 to 30 to self-destruct because he hadn't learned how to be prepared. At 21, you're able to buy liquor, you're able to enter into a contract, you're able to have sex pretty freely. But usually what happens between 21 and 25, you'll end up having a car repossessed, you'll end up having a baby. A lot of times by a woman you don't want to take into the future with you. You end up with some kind of legal trouble, DUI or something like that. That's because there's a big gap in what a man should do between 20, 21, and 30. That's really a growing period because if you really think about it, 21, you've been at home with mom and dad. You haven't done any kind of adulting kind of things. There are some that have, but I mean, just generally speaking, 21, you've just been a student. So I always like to think like from 20 to 30, that's where you get your man training. You start getting in a situation where you're correcting some of those problems. That's the reason why I like men 25, because they've had enough experience that they know that this next 5 years are better. I better walk a little different than I did when I was 21. So a lot of guys I see change. And it was the same for me. When I got to be 32, that's when I came to another realization about how important life was and how to handle children, wives, money, and the things that I was responsible for. That was a painful experience for me to lose my family. I love my family, and I'm in great communication with them right now. So it's not a thing like they disappeared, but I had to rebuild myself, and they saw me rebuild myself. And they have much more confidence in me today because I stood in the arena. They saw me in the arena changing. I changed for myself and I changed for them. And it's been like that ever since, So I think when people see you change, you disappear and you come back and you're all fresh and clean. When people see you peel back them layers one at a time and they watch you, and when I say people that love you, the community that you're from, when they see you peel them layers off a little bit at a time and then get to be the real man that you are, that's the best trust building thing that you could possibly do.
I think so, man. Success leaves clues and changes leaves clues. And people who are watching are going to recognize stuff bit by bit. And yeah, man, those first years of freedom and making real money, it's like, what are people going to do with these new responsibilities, blessings? How do I manage them? And are they prepared for it? That's a tough thing. And I think a lot of people are raising children and students, but for me, I've taken a really weird counterculture approach to it. It's like, no, I'm raising a man.
Yes, I heard you say that before, and that resonated with me because that's true. As soon as he gets away from your peripheral or your home, he's going to be challenged to be a man. Once he turns 21, the world don't care that he's not prepared yet. They like, yeah, you can buy this car. Yeah, you can get this liquor. Yeah, they're not asking him, hey, man, are you responsible enough to buy this car? Are you responsible enough to drink this liquor? They're like, have at it, bro. So I like the approach that you have taken, man. The first time I heard you say it, that just resonated with me. You can't, the only thing I would say is you can't dismiss the fact that he's still young, because what happens a lot of times, they want to be a boy at 30. I've seen guys turn to a boy at 30, because they were kind of like in a strict discipline of growing up. Their parents didn't let them deviate much, but it was always like, you're going to be a man, you're going to be a man, you're going to be a man. There's some gray area in that, if that makes sense or whatever. But I respect your position with your son. I met your son, and he's probably more man than the average 20-year-old right now. How old is he? Like 16, 17 or something like that?
He's 15.
Could have fooled me. Yeah, he's pretty mature, Aaron. You're doing an
Thanks.
excellent job.
I appreciate it, man. And for me, what that means is, I still let him be a kid. And for me, the difference is letting him make some small choices and some small decisions. So many people are like, no, you're eating this and this is what you're doing. And they treat kids in such a way where they don't have any sort of power and control and decisions in their day. And for him, just giving him some really simple decisions early on, letting him make them good or bad, and then dealing with the consequences, giving the kid a space to trust him, like, let's say, climbing onto jungle gyms where, hey, this is dangerous. Well, fighting against all my parental instincts to go pick them up and hold them and support them while they climb this difficult, challenging, potentially dangerous thing. And just, hey, step back, let go and watch them and see what they can do. And let them build that trust in themselves, like you said. And maybe I'm there to catch him if he falls, but give him the opportunity to fall. It's okay. I catch some criticism from some folks, but at the same time, we still let him be a kid. We still cuddle. I still hug him and kiss him. And there's room for that in our life. So it's not too disciplined and regimented. Let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about your organization more. I read some online that your organization says that a man's difficulties are not interruptions to his formation. They're part of the curriculum.
My belief from my own life experience is, I think what happens a lot of times, especially younger men, they're looking for a destination. What I found through my life, and I think it made my life a whole lot more palatable, is life is not a destination. It's more of a journey. Almost everything that made me sad has found a way in my life to make me better. And changes come to make you strong. I mean, that's what they are. And I taught a lesson one day here. It's kind of like, what would your life be like if everything was just like gravy? Just if nothing wrong or different than what you thought ever happened, you wouldn't be nothing. I think those interruptions or those disruptions are what really build the man. They're what builds the man. They're lasting. And I think that's the difference, where if things never went wrong or you never had any challenges, you wouldn't be worth a quarter, because you've never been challenged in any kind of way. There's something in us that just desires to be challenged. And then when you rise to the challenge, you start to like yourself better. You start to have faith in God and yourself that you've overcome something that your immediate thinking had you thinking like, this is going to kill me. But we're talking about faith building now. This is where faith building comes in. When you start seeing things that you thought were going to kill you and they didn't, and you know that only God could do it. Only God could do it. And one of the things, going back to the name, it was written in his promises. It's written in the promises for you as a man.
Absolutely. Those challenges, whether we meet a challenge and beat it, or whether a challenge beats us and we take the lesson from that, either way, we're being formed by that experience.
What do you think you would be if you lived a life where everything was just like, yeah, hey, yeah, Aaron? What do you think you would be? And then on top of that, now you're raising a son too.
I think everybody gets them. Some people seem to have an easier time with it than others. Some people, hey, they get a lot of good luck in their life. Some people, they grow stronger, and luck appears when they're persistent and consistent, and they keep trying and they keep persevering. It can look like luck on the outside, but it makes us stronger. It makes us tougher when we overcome those challenges. And I would say, what's the blueprint for our life, right?
Mhm.
Anybody in the contractors, remodelers, rehabbers, you're doing an addition or something, like, there's a blueprint to follow. Sometimes that blueprint is very strict and perfect, and sometimes got to pivot and make a change from the plan. How does that relate to a man's life? Like, when I think about that, it's nearly the same.
I think so too. I think so. And I think about things like, I think about this stuff about a man and a man's life and family all day, every day. I study it, I pay attention to it. It's important to me. And I think about one thing, it's been kind of on my mind lately. If you have a boy and a girl, you have a daughter and a son, regardless to the age. If your daughter comes to you and say, Daddy, they did this to me. You're like, oh, baby, don't worry about it. It's going to be all right. You might even buy her some ice cream or something, but buy into the emotional damage that it may have caused her. And your son, same situation, same time, same age. We tend to tell him, like, hey, man, suck it up. It ain't that bad. When you go back to school tomorrow, knock the heck out of the guy or whatever. You take 20 years of that. And then I think it's still going on now as 40 or 50 old men. It's a conditioning kind of thing that kind of helps men feel a whole nother way about everything. And what happens a lot of times, we get to be fakers. Really what we're saying is different than what we're feeling. It's easy for us because we can compartmentalize our feelings easy. I don't think it's as easy for women to compartmentalize their feelings because it still comes out, but we're good at it. We've been compartmentalizing and hiding our feelings and emotions and stuff for years. And the reason why I use men and women, boys and girls, because those emotions are not gender-based. It's people. That's a people thing. Emotions is kind of a people thing. We all experience the same emotions just based on the stimuli. More times than not, I just feel like men can be disingenuous more times than not. And usually once they start healing from within, they start seeing it themselves. A lot of times they don't even realize it.
But I know that we've got a certain role and the bills keep coming. The people we got responsibilities to, be it customers or family or employees, they don't care about none of that. They need the results. And we got to sometimes, like you said, compartmentalize so that we can get through the day. But then what? What's that outlet? What's that release? How does it come? Is it done in a way that was intentional, or is it blowing up at our loved ones at the end of the day? That's not healthy. That's when people talk about toxic masculinity. I think that's what they're talking about, but I'm not sure. I don't know exactly. That word doesn't mean a lot to me, but it is something we do have to push through.
I think that's a very good question, a very good topic, a very good situation, because it's something that you have to identify as a man. It's something you have to identify. And then after you identify it, you have to become willing to make the differences with it. I use this term, you don't want your 30-year-old self governing your 40-year-old life. I think what happens a lot of times, people quit learning in a regulated form. But I think that's probably one of the worst things you can do. Minimally, you can listen to podcasts regularly. You can do online learning or whatever. But I feel like you have to continue to grow. Your better people are people that pay attention to something else other than their hurt feelings. Because a lot of it ends up, it's really just their hurt feelings, or they just want to medicate, or they just want to get away from it. And that's not good enough. And especially if you have people depending on you as a contractor, that's a big one. I mean, because you got customers, some material suppliers, a lot of people are depending on you. So for you not to grow, that's probably the worst thing you can do. That is a formula for failure. Yeah, you got your feelings. Yeah, you got this. Yeah, you got that. But there's answers for all of that. There's an answer for all of that. And you're not alone. You're not alone at all. And that's why I appreciate you, Aaron, for opening up the door for conversations like this. Because yes, I may be an excellent plumber, but I might be just terrible with the rest of the things in my life. This, what you're having today, is helping people realize, or helping us tradespeople realize there's more to it. And that's another reason why I like doing what I do here at Men of Promises, because I help people help the guys tune in to what's actually going on the inside. I help them find a way to deal with what's going on the inside.
Why does it happen that so many men will work really, really hard for their employer or their customers if they're self-employed. And their lives will be a mess at home. Their personal lives, their fitness, their health, their diet, their family relationships, their personal goals outside of work. Why do men get so focused on that thing?
In short, I think men leave two other parts of themselves alone. I think a man is spirit, a man is physical, and every time I think about it, I can never think of the third. But we're a three-part man. We have different parts that need to be taken care of at all times. You can go to a gym and you can see a guy that's got a beautiful body and everything, and you can't even have a conversation with him. For an example, you might not even have a conversation. There's so many pieces to a man that you have to own all of it. And we build men in such a way, and when I say we build men in such a way, we have so much attached to being a man that we don't have a way of helping him systematically know how to be a man. We just give him this box of tools, be like, hey man, go out there and handle everything with it. Go out there, feed your family with it, take care of your business with it. But it's not that simple. It takes a lot more. And I think the guys that realize that it takes more than this box of tools you left the house with and try to fix everything from here on out will get it. A lot of our tradesmen, they keep that tool regimen going. It's the same kind of thing. The better the tools, typically the better the product you can produce. You can have the best tools, but heck, if you ain't used them in a while, you're not familiar with them, or they're not in a place you can get them when you need them. That's probably the best analogy. Am I making myself clear with the analogy, the tool analogy?
I've still got some rusty tools.
But we really got the best tools today, man. I've seen this tool evolution. Because I mean, when I started, man, 90% of the stuff we use today wasn't even available when I started. And I'm really a dinosaur. But the fact that you have good tools and good ways of keeping them, you could really produce, but you have to do the same thing with your life and your life's organization too. You have to bring in new tools, new organizations, new disciplines and everything. You can't live your 30, 40-year-old life with your 15 or 16 or 20-year-old mind, tool set or whatever. It's not going to get you where you need to. It requires more. And it's not a lot. It doesn't take a lot. I've seen guys here change, and what they do is they come here weekly, and most of them do a little reading or something, or they found somebody that they follow with podcasts or TikToks and things like that, and they change. So it doesn't take like this overhaul. It may for somebody, but in general, it doesn't take a real overhaul. It just takes an awareness that you are missing some things. You are missing some things. Like when I told you I lost my first family, my wife was telling me all the time that I wasn't doing something right. Sometimes you have to pay attention to that. I didn't have the kind of relationship with my children that I should have. Sometimes you have to pay attention to that. And things to fix that with are available. I mean, there's so much stuff available. You just have to be willing to be different. I think that's what I find here. Most of these guys that come here, they are willing to be different. And that's the key. You got to be willing to be different. You can't just keep on like, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, something wrong with you. No, you have to be willing to be different. Like, yeah, baby, you think something is wrong? Yeah, something might be wrong, you know. And like we were saying earlier, when a man changes in that arena and the people see him remove those layers, nothing's better.
That's right, man. What I'm hearing you say is every now and then we got to take a personal inventory. We got to look at where we're at. How is my life? Let's look at my health. Let's look at my wealth. Let's look at my love. Let's look at my happiness. Let's look at my spirituality and make sure, where am I deficient? What tools do I have that are getting rusty that I need to pull back out and sharpen that saw? Spend a little time getting my tool the way it needs to be so that I can perform better in that component of my life that's suffering. And if I don't have the tool, by God, I better figure it out. I better find a resource, find the help. If it's a podcast, a book, if it's talking to somebody, if it's going on YouTube, whatever it is, reach out for some help. It's okay. We don't always have all the answers, and we're here for improvement.
With that analogy, you made me think about where you originated the question from. Because a lot of times, and I'm just using a small example, a lot of times if you're not doing well at home, you tend to overdo work. Because like she gonna bitch anyway if I don't. So I'm gonna work more, which is exasperating that situation. It's making both situations worse, really. So I like how you frame the question and then how you help me explain it a little bit. It's about a balance, and that's not always easy, but there's a lot of ways that you can create balance.
We got time for one more question. Let me ask you, what could contractors, trade companies, other employers do to support the development of the men that are working for them?
That's a powerful question. And I want to take a minute and think about that and answer that. But I think it starts with, and I know what always worked for me. The guys that worked with me knew that they could trust me. If I said I was going to pay them on Friday, they get it. If I told them, like, I don't have the money now, they believed it. It wasn't no thing. They trust me. So I think you have to work with those guys on a trusting everything every day. You have to develop your trust with your team because that's everything. Your team is everything. You might think you are everything, but it's a team. It's a team. There's no team where a teammate is more powerful than the team. So I think that trust, where we started in the beginning, I think you work with your man on a trusting basis every day, everything you say and do, you encourage and instill trust, you will have a team that will take you wherever the heck you want to go.
Thank you, Wayne. It's been a pleasure. We're going to have to do this again sometime because I got a lot of stuff we didn't even touch.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity. And man, I really appreciate what you do. And I hope a lot of these guys that are listening to the podcast reach out to you more because you are a very information filled guy.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you being a member at the Trusted Trade Hub, and I appreciate you welcome us into your organization where we can get some time for me to introduce my son to some other good men and get that exposure and those conversations that he wouldn't get otherwise.
He's much more mature than his age. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you again.
Oh, Wayne, hey, one last thing. If people want to find you, where can they get in touch?
Let's see. menofpromises.org. Everything you need is on menofpromises.org.
Perfect, man. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, sir.